You're listening to Veg Your Best. There's never been a more important time to be vegan. My name's Michelle Olander. I'm a life coach, and I want to show you that living vegan is actually the superpower that will unlock your possibilities and give you the confidence to take on your next impossible goal. And that's by doing it your way. If I could go vegan in my 50s with all my excuses, I know you can start moving in that direction too. Veg your best, and there's nothing you can't do. Episode 125, the story of Rhode Island Veg Fest with organizer Robin Dionne. Welcome back, Veg Your Besties. Welcome to Veg Your Best. You know, we have another guest this week, and I'm so excited because this time from my favorite state. As many of you know, Rhode Island is the smallest state in the U.S., but it also holds a pretty huge space in my heart and in the heart of my entire family for more than a few generations. And in some ways, this episode may appeal more to those of you who know or love or live near the ocean state, as Rhode Island is called, but this is also a story about a relatively new and a growing phenomenon called Veg Fests. It's also about the opportunities that exist for vegans, for individuals, to create new opportunities of outreach and advocacy that meet people wherever they are. Now, if you listen to my interview back, I think it was in September, early September, with Sam and Christine from the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, you will have heard about their enthusiasm for Veg Fests. And in the UK, I've been hearing about vegan campouts, which are large multi-day vegan festivals that have entertainment as well as food and animal rescue organizations and stories. All to say that vegan-oriented gatherings are becoming, as they say, a thing. So that's why I wanted to invite Robin Dionne, the founder and organizer of Rhode Island Veg Fest, in advance of her upcoming Veg Fest 2023, which is happening in just a few days, February 4th and 5th at the Waterfire Arts Center in Providence, Rhode Island. And I asked Robin to come on the pod and tell us what it takes to put on a Veg Fest, what to expect if you go to one, and if you want to be a vendor or even a sponsor, how that even works. And tickets are going fast. So if you were thinking right this second that you want to go, please stop listening. Hit pause. I have never said that before. But hit pause and go to RhodeIslandVegFest.com. RIVEGFEST.com. RhodeIslandVegFest.com, and you'll get your tickets before they're completely gone. So 2 days. It's going to be 2 days of eating and shopping and mingling with more than, I think she said close to 100, but more than 80 plus plant-based vegan restaurants and makers and artists, retailers, and many more. And I hope you're going to listen to Robin. And as you're listening, I hope you'll be letting some ideas percolate in the back of your individual brain of how you yourself can create a little more buzz, a little more welcome, a little more inspiration around veganism from your lens, and how you could support vegan creators in your neck of the woods. So if you've gotten your tickets, or maybe it's the future, maybe you're in the future now and February 5th, 2023 has come and gone. In that case, then please just enjoy this fun conversation. Robin Dionne, welcome to Veg Your Best podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. As many people will know, if they're my Rhode Island area friends, Rhode Island Veg Fest is around the corner. And you have been good enough to come and talk about the Veg Fest, how you got involved, what you're doing there, what's going on in the Ocean State in terms of vegan businesses and vegan community. So first, tell me about your journey as a vegan.
Sure. So I'm a native Rhode Islander. I took a little detour to Boston for college for a short period of time and came back. But I have been vegan for over 25 years. And prior to that was vegetarian for quite a while, but I just didn't know there was a name for it. Um, I grew up in a family in rural northern Rhode Island where there were a lot of hunters. And so that was something that I became aware of at a very young age and was very confused by, and just could not see myself following that path of eating animals.
So this translates for years and years and years, and you live probably a fairly quiet vegan life until suddenly you are in charge of Rhode Island Veg Fest. What happened?
It's true. It's true. So, as a teenager and then also living in Boston for that short period of time, I attended many other Veg Fests. I was really excited about the one in Boston when I was, very young, and thought like, oh, I wonder if this is something that I could host someday. I wonder if Rhode Island will ever have a Veg Fest. And, a lot of years passed and I was, vegan during that time, but didn't really think about it again until probably 2014. I was spending a lot of time working in downtown Providence at the time and thinking of, seeing Veggie Fun open down there, and then seeing that tide turn a little bit where more and more plant-based options started to become available in Providence. And, while they were becoming available and things were changing, it was clear that something was missing. I thought that there was room for our little city to have a party of its own. And so around 2014, 2015, I started to really think about what it would take to host an event, never imagining that it would grow to the size that it has grown to. In my mind, it was a small gathering, not like a potluck, but I really just thought, like, how can we bring all these businesses together and then show the public, like, there are vegans here and they're doing things that are fun, that they're doing things that are welcoming, and just really a way to connect those businesses, not just to each other, but to the community in Rhode Island. And it grew even beyond Rhode Island. We have a lot of attendees who come in from out of state.
Well, what gave you the skill set? Do you have a background in marketing, in event planning? What's your background?
I'm a communications professional. I've worked as a communications director in the nonprofit world, in state government, in national nonprofits, and then with some affordable housing and some for-profit real estate in the for-profit real estate development world. And so there's a really big mix of transferable skills in that world, which is, multitasking, being a community connector, connecting people to each other for, personal and professional reasons. And then I, at many of those positions, ended up doing a lot of community outreach, community organizing, and event planning. And so at the time when I thought of it, I thought, I think 2019, is when I was preparing to launch Veg Fest. The first one was in February 2020. So in that period of time, in all those different roles I was working in my professional life, I always had this in the back of my mind, like, someday if I have time, or what will it take for me to really sit down and think about this? And so I was working as a communications director for the Arcade Providence, which is a downtown Providence. It's a historical adaptive reuse building. And I was hosting a series of farmers markets there where people were bringing in produce on the weekend. The downtown areas didn't really have anything like that. There was no grocery store yet. And all the people that lived downtown were so receptive to it. And then I realized I was starting to get a lot of applicants from small vegan businesses, whether it was bakeries that were sort of testing the waters in their own way downtown. They didn't have a brick and mortar, and some of them did go on, like Celebrated was one of my very first community event partners I worked with. They were one of my early vendors and one of my farmers markets. So people were out there having the same thoughts that I was having, like, there must be more of me, there must be other vegan businesses around, and then there must be people who want to support the vegan businesses. So I had developed this little network of people, and I thought, I bet there's even more of us than I know of. So if I open up applications, we'll see what happens. And in year one, immediately the response was just so great that it was sort of unmanageable right away. People were just very interested. This is pre-pandemic, of course. The event was held in February 2020.
Just before.
Very, very right before the pandemic, is very close. So, but I opened up those applications in 2019 and people were just very excited, super enthusiastic and responsive, like, how can I join you? And coincidentally, right around the same time, Plant City was opening downtown. And so I kind of knew Kim Anderson a little bit from my time at the arcade. She was friends with the owner. So I had been introduced to her and I thought, I'm just going to reach out and see if she's interested and see who else is interested. And it turns out there were so many small businesses that were excited to come on board. And we had about 90 vendors in the first year.
Well, I'm wondering how many of my listeners understand that even in the smallest state in the United States, it's a very diverse state. So you have Providence, where VegFest is located, which is a very intellectual place. It's full of artists. It's full of Brown University and RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. And I think in the area, there are at least a half dozen other universities and colleges. So, and then we've got where you said you were from Northern Rhode Island. My mom grew up in Pasco, Rhode Island, which is a very, very small little area in northwest part of the state. And then there's the seacoast, there's Newport, and there's some very, very glamorous parts of Rhode Island. So so for anybody who's listening around the world, Rhode Island is surprisingly diverse. And I was surprised how vegan friendly it's become in the last few years. Now, what do you credit that to? People like Plant City or the farmers markets? What do you see?
I think that people are paying more attention to where their food comes from. I think people are paying more attention to their health. I think that, prior to the pandemic, that was the case. But I do think that, related to the pandemic, people have thought about their health. Like, what has anyone thought about more than their health in the past few years? And I think when you think about health, it comes along with like food and exercising and what you're eating and drinking and, how you're spending your time. And I think when you think about how you're spending your time, a lot of that comes along with money. Where are you spending your money? Where are you putting your own resources, your personal resources? And I think all of those things, and then community champions like Pianta, like the Garden Grill and Wildflower, who've been around forever, like Plant City and all Plant City X, all those amazing offshoots that Kim is creating over there. I think that all of these things sort of come together in this perfect storm at just the right time. I've seen over the several years, this will be the third Veg Fest in February in 2 weeks here in Rhode Island. And I've seen so many new small businesses open and apply for the event, not just in Rhode Island, but from all over the region, from New England and beyond. We have vendors that come from Los Angeles. So I think people are taking risks and opening their vegan small businesses and really committing to them and finding a way to make them work. And sometimes the way they do that is to travel around. It's like a little circuit. There's Veg Fests all over the country. So people travel to them. And then there's national brands. And sometimes the national brands get bought up by a big conglomerate. But there are also national brands who are, like Dr. Bronner, for example. They're really out there trying to communicate with people who are buying their products and finding a way to and from a marketing standpoint for them to connect with the people who are buying their products or to educate people who might be interested in buying the products if they knew about them. So I think all of these things just happen to be happening. And it just was the right time.
This idea that a place and a time where things just suddenly become organically, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. I think that's kind of the phrase. It does truly feel that way. Now, you've been a vegan since a period of time when it was. I'm trying to just think of the word. We don't become vegan because it's easy, and we don't probably not become vegan because it's hard. But there are times where there are fewer resources available and there are fewer people who understand what it is you're asking for. Give me an idea of what you think is super different from when you became vegan 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago, I think you said.
Yeah, over 25 now. I think that there's obviously more, especially in Providence, but even when I was living in Boston when I was a teenager, there were options, but they were very specific. And it was sort of like, the internet existed, but not in the way that it exists in our lives now, where we have like the world at our fingertips. And I went to Scotland last summer, and I was able to find, over 200 places in advance that had vegan options before I even got on the plane. But at the time when I became vegan, it was like, well, you're not going to eat meat and you're not going to eat dairy. And that is great, but there's no alternatives. And for me, I was not a person who was looking for alternatives because I didn't want to eat meat or dairy or anything that resembled it. And I've sort of come a long way, and I wasn't really excited about tofu at the time either. So it was sort of like, well, there's pasta. You could have, a sandwich with fake cheese if you could get your hands on it. My friends were sending it to me from the West Coast. It was not something, and you're shipping this thing that should be refrigerated. And at the time, there was just not a lot of options. There was like a kosher deli in my neighborhood in Boston that sold some options that were kosher that happened to be vegan. And that was great, like tofutti for, old school tofutti. They had those frozen pizzas, but they were kind of expensive at the time for a person who's in college. And there just weren't a lot of options. And you had to make special trips to find these things. So I think what has happened as more and more people have become vegan or become vegetarian or wanted to start, exploring that kind of diet, even just scratching the surface of it, grocery stores and other, even Target, the big box stores, they start to pay attention how people want to spend their money. And if you don't have those options available, people who are shopping there are going to leave and go somewhere else and take their dollars with them. So it's become so much more mainstream and easily accessible. And the quality of the products has just improved so drastically, where in the past, when I would say I was vegetarian and then I would say I was vegan, people would say like, oh my God, how terrible. And now people don't even react. There's we get some rude comments about VegFest online. You've probably seen them. Everyone asks me about them. People are mean, and they, just want to say terrible things, or they want to send us photos that are graphic animal slaughter photos that are just, people are being mean. But mostly the world does not react that way anymore. It's not a weird thing to be. It's not something that you have to really hide. You can go to a restaurant and people will understand you now. So I think there's like just this greater awareness that this community is a big community. And so that has been really so nice and so interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it really shows. For example, trolls got a troll. I mean, they have to say something, right? They just can't possibly sit home and do something positive with their lives, whether they agree or not. But I think this is even the market that we are voting with our dollars. And even in families where only one person maybe is vegan or vegetarian, they don't want to go out someplace. They want to include that loved one in their family. So they're going to choose places that have options for that member of the family. So it is, I think, a tipping point from an economic point of view for sure. And when you have so many people, really young and vital and artisanal people creating so much, I mean, this is what's exciting. And I'd love you to tell us some of the people. I know you have to apologize in advance because you can't mention every single human business or human that's involved with VegFest. But what are some kind of exciting people that are at VegFest this year in Rhode Island?
So like I said, we have vendors who come out from all over the country for this. It's so exciting to see people willing to make that journey and make that, commitment to coming out here. But there are also a lot of really great local and regional vendors, everything from restaurants to breweries, distillers who make vegan spirits that are vegan, beer. Some of these things just happen to be vegan, but maybe the community doesn't know that they're vegan. So this is such a great opportunity to spread that word, to the larger group of attendees who are coming. There are about 5,000 attendees over 2 days. And we have, obviously, Plant City is there. Pianta, like I mentioned earlier, they're a restaurant that opened. They were working up a ghost kitchen all, during the pandemic and before, and now they have a brick and mortar, a restaurant of their very own on Federal Hill, which is a beautiful spot. We have there's salsa producers. Kane's Kitchen participates in a lot of our events, and we love that salsa. There's Barrett's Garden Cheese, which is made right here in Rhode Island, and another vegan cheesemaker. I never thought in my life I would know one vegan cheesemaker, never mind like the half dozen that I've weaseled my way into their friendship. There's one from St. Albans, this little small town in northern Vermont, like so close to Canada, this company called Nourish, and they're up there with a little cafe out in a rural area and they make artisanal vegan cheese that is just unbelievable. Something I'm very excited about. And as a person who has a relative living out in Pasco, you'll understand this excitement. There is a plant-based food production facility that has opened in Lincoln, Rhode Island called Plants to Food. And I was just able to, at the last minute, make contact with them through a friend who was the cheese maker. Barrett's Garden was able to connect us. She's producing her cheese there, but this is a plant-based food facility that's producing over 40 different brands and growing in Lincoln, Rhode Island, which, that's not an area of the state where you would think you're going to go out and find a big industrial building full of vegan products that people are making. So that they're joining us. And I'm so excited to know they exist. And I'm so excited that they're out there and bringing in all these brands to produce in Rhode Island. So they're creating opportunities in the vegan world here in Rhode Island that I just could never have imagined.
So when people come to a Veg Fest, I have actually not yet been to a Veg Fest. I was planning to come to this one, and there was a little bit of a snafu in my timing. Tell us, what is it like? What if someone has never been to one, what's it like?
I would say that it is a party, first and foremost. Veg Fest is a fun gathering that is open to all, whether you're vegan or vegetarian or you're neither of those things. You're just a person who loves food and is curious. You want to learn more, or you're being dragged there by your friends who are telling you, like we see a lot of like, don't worry, there's a bar, you'll be fine. There's going to be food, there's a bar. And we see people come in that way, and they'll tell us kind of that check-in, like, oh, my girlfriend made me come, my boyfriend made me come. But when you get there, there's that fun atmosphere. So I think it's family friendly. It's open to all. And I think that what we really try to create is a really positive experience for anyone who's joining, whether it's a vendor or a ticket holder. So you will not find people there who are judgmental of you for your diet, whatever phase you may be at in determining if vegan or vegetarianism is right for you. People are very happy to be there as participants and share information about what they're doing, share information about the animal rights or the animal rescue groups that they work with, share information about their restaurant or their salsa brand or their cheese brand. People are excited to share what they make and why they make it. And I've never heard complaints that people are pushy or judgmental. It's like a very welcoming little community that has sort of sprouted up here. And when they're all in the room together, that excitement to see each other and to be around each other is something that is, I feel like it's visible. I feel like you can see it in the room. And if you look at all the photos on our website, rivegfest.com, all those gallery photos that we have there and like the videos, people are having a great time because they know everything in the room is going to be delicious, that people are going to be nice to them. So I think that sort of like, it sounds so silly to just boil it down to that very basic, like people are nice, it's a party, and it's just a fun thing to do on the weekend. So that's what I really look forward to it all year long. We work on it for a full year leading up to it.
Well, and especially February typically is not the most beautiful month in Rhode Island, and you're at the Waterfire Arts Center. So it is an interior space. People are not exposed to the elements there. So if they are thinking of joining you, what are the dates now? It's February.
It's February 4th and 5th. And, you never know what you're going to get with weather here, but we did have one day last year. It was a 2-day event. The first day was 60 degrees and the second day it snowed.
Yeah. Welcome to New England.
Welcome to New England. So there's a big parking lot with free parking, plenty. It's a handicap accessible venue, handicap accessible parking. So the parking is right there on site. It's a ticketed event. We had the early entry tickets where you get a swag bag full of great samples and items from local and national brands, which we spent all day Tuesday stuffing those. Thank you to Trinity Brewhouse for letting us use your restaurant to stuff those on Tuesday. So I think, there's a lot happening at the event, but we have a map that we create for vendors. We used to print them, but we don't want to be too wasteful with paper. So we have a QR code and you can scan and sort of see. People tend to like huddle and strategize when they get there. So it is fully indoors. We will have a bar with fully vegan cocktails, vegan Bloody Marys. There's usually vegan Jello shots that are part of a larger cocktail. So there's like that fun aspect. For most of us, when you're vegan, you don't get to drink things like that out in public very often because you can't find them. So that's a big fun part of it. And then there's just about 90 vendors, again, all indoors. And we do have one other event that is outdoors, and that is in September at Trinity Beer Garden. And that's a vegan food and beer sampling event called Vegtoberfest that we'll announce some details on that soon. And that's a similar party, just a little smaller and outdoors.
So if they're following you at rhodeislandvegfest.com, they can be on the email list and they can find out about the other events. And they can also find out, even if they're not coming, about some of the vendors, I suspect.
Yes. Yeah. We have all the vendors on our website. And we're always happy to, we get a lot of questions after the event via DM on Instagram, like, I had a cupcake and I can't remember who made it, but it looked like this. And so we're happy to answer those questions.
Mysteries of what was it, figuring out what we were exposed to. So now you mentioned that you're not printing out the maps now to be more sustainable, less waste. And I know that you partner with Bootstrap Compost. Tell us a little bit about that, because sometimes vegan is not the only way to participate in the health of our climate, the health of our planet, and our environment. And waste is, especially with some of the more processed things that are available now that are vegan products, those can sometimes be a hard choice for us if we're trying to do the right thing from a macro point of view. Tell us about Bootstrap Compost, because I think that's marvelous that you're partnering with them.
They're unbelievable. Bootstrap, we started working with them last summer. They were our partner in our outdoor Vegtoberfest event. And we reached out to them because, we had hosted the Vegtoberfest outdoor event before. And that event, significantly smaller than VegFest. VegFest has 5,000 attendees over 2 days. Vegtoberfest only has 1,500 attendees over like one pretty long day. But it was generating so much waste for a one-day event. And so, and my husband and I, we own this little business ourselves. It's just the two of us. So at the end of the event, you can find us and any of our friends that we can coerce into being hired for the day. We're hauling all this trash ourselves. And after we hauled almost 200 bags of trash for the 2021 Outdoor Vegtoberfest event, we were hauling those home to our own driveway and then to the dump the next day. And I was thinking, like, my God, this is such a process. This is so much waste. It's taking up so much of our time. It's taking up so much space. And now we're going to drive it to the dump, and it's going to be, trucking back and forth. We might have to make 10 trips in this little truck that we had at the time. So not just like the waste itself, but the transporting of the waste. And it's just so many things that just seeing all those trash bags together really made us think. And Bootstrap kind of came along at the right time. We had a friend that was driving for them, and I didn't know a lot about, what their capabilities were, if they could work with us on an event like this. But they had been quietly establishing themselves in, not just Rhode Island, in New England. They have a wider range than Rhode Island that they work in. And so they were, out doing their thing, opening a facility in Johnston. And they helped us learn what kinds of products are compostable. And we spent some time, strategizing with them. How can we make the 2022 outdoor Vegtoberfest event be compostable? and they showed us, here are some materials, here are some good sources. And it takes resources to be able to do this. That's an event where we pay restaurants to sample, and we decided that we would take on the burden of purchasing and providing all of those compostable materials for the 1,500 attendees. They come in the door and they get a beer sampling cup, they get a compostable tray, they get compostable cutlery. So Bootstrap was excited to work at the entry with us. And as they were the ones that were handing out all the compostable materials and getting to introduce themselves to 1,500 people who had never heard of them before. So all these people come through, and Bootstrap is like, hi, here's who we are and what we do. We take your tray. And then at the end of the day, when you're done eating, put it in the compost bin instead of the trash or recycling. And people were so excited, above and beyond what I could have expected. We were enthusiastic about Bootstrap, and Bootstrap was enthusiastic about us. But the community was so excited to compost that, when you get a large group of people together, not every person pays attention or follows the rules that you ask them to follow. But there was like 100% compliance at this event of 1,500 people who were drinking outside in the summer with us, that they didn't contaminate any of the compost with trash or recycling. And from almost 200 bags of trash the year before, because of composting, we had under 9 bags.
Wow.
Of trash. So it's such like a drastic difference from the year before. So at the end of the day, I just took the 9 bags of trash back to my house and put them in my own trash can. So we didn't have to go to the dump. Bootstrap was on site all day, and they hauled the compost every time their van got full. They would drive it to Johnston and come back. It was a 10-minute drive. And they communicated with so many people to educate them about home composting that was available. And now we are home composters too. Tomorrow's our first ever pickup day with Bootstrap, and I have my little pail ready to go. We're excited. So it just, we got so much positive feedback in Bootstrap. They're just such nice people to work with. Carla over there is a friend of ours now. And I just think you can tell they care about what they're doing and they want to participate. So we brought them into Veg Fest indoors for February 2023. And while, we hired them after we had already settled our vendor list for the most part. So we could not make this event like mandatory compostable because we had already, got the restaurants on board. But going forward in 2024 and beyond, our events will be, vendors, restaurants will be required to work with compostable products.
What a great achievement, because it is a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes I freak out when I find that I have a plastic fork that I walked away from somewhere, and then I hoard them. I have them in my drawers. I mean, because I can't I just put them into the waste stream, and every once in a while someone has to do an intervention with me on them. But it's a combination of being raising your consciousness about it, knowing that there are alternatives to it, and also having people in the economic realm, in the commercial world, filling in that need for us, because we want it. If we can do it, most of us want to do that, I think.
Yeah. And restaurants for sure, like Bootstrap picks up commercial compost, they picks up residential compost, and some of our friends and restaurant partners have signed up to work with them. Some of our friends were already composting and we didn't know until they showed up to the event and they said, oh, we know Bootstrap. So I think Bootstrap just has a great reputation, and I think composting is just going to become, it's just going to become second nature. I think it's going to become a thing that everyone will do eventually. We spend half our time in Vermont, and Vermont, everything's compostable. You have to compost all of the stores you go in, the restaurants, they have a compost trash, the gas station has compost trash, and they have compost pickup for residential. That's just, you have a bin and everybody does it. And if you don't do it, people want to know, like, why are you not doing this? So I think like having those resources out there, like you said, and having people aware of them, I think that's going to change the way that we look at waste and what we do with it.
Now, as I said, my mom grew up in Pasco, so she grew up on a farm. So composting was basically just a pit. It was that. And so I have not lived on such large acreage, but I also have always had a backyard where we could have a composter. And so something like Bootstrap, some of these other companies that come in, you can live in an apartment building, you can live in a row house, you can live in a variety of different situations where you couldn't normally have your own composter. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, we weren't composting before because we were having problems. Like the whole neighborhood was having problems. I live in Cranston, and the neighborhood has problems with raccoons and coyotes. Now, even in the city, there's coyotes out at the end of our street where the pond is all the time. So we have little dogs, and I don't want to lure any coyotes into my yard, so I can't put compost out there right now. But Bootstrap really solves that problem. They come get it. You pay, a very affordable fee, and they do, every other Friday they pick it up. So having that accessible and having them like, this is up and running, they're driving all over the state picking up this compost, and they're turning it into soil that you can request from them. So people are learning more and more about it, and I'm so excited that we can help spread the word.
Yeah, it's marvelous. And maybe we've spent too much time talking about composting with Rhode Island Veg Fest, but I think it's all part of the mindset and educating ourselves and seeing what's available to make our lives a little bit more in alignment with the things we're concerned about in terms of not just health, but the health of our planet, in terms of sustainability of all kinds. Now, with anybody who goes to Rhode Island Veg Fest, everything in there is vegan, right? You're not going to have to ask whether this contains,
Nope, everything is fully vegan there. There are some gluten-free options as well. Not everything is gluten-free, but there are some gluten-free and some nut-free. That we have an allergen-free. The Donut Shack is completely allergen-free. So there definitely are options for all kinds of diets, but it is fully 100% vegan, and it will always be.
That's marvelous. Yeah, that's great, because it is one of those times when you can just kind of like,
yeah,
I'm not going to have to cross-examine anybody.
No, it's true. I think about like, what would I want to experience? And, what would I want to do? What would I be so excited to find if I were, a teenager trying to learn about veganism or vegetarianism? Or, I have a lot of meat-eating family members, those hunters, like, they come to the event, they're trying new things, they're supportive of the work I'm doing. They're not ever going to be an activist, but they're excited to come try these things that they would never have in a million years. Like we had a vegan wedding, and my family, non-vegan people, everyone ate the food. I don't think anyone would have even known.
Yeah, that's a marvelous thing when it can be opened up, and even people who don't really see the need yet, or aren't awake to some of the concerns that maybe you or I are. I mean, I myself, I only became vegan about 7.5 years ago. I knew intellectually many things that I didn't emotionally feel, and I also thought it was impossible. I thought it was going to be impossible, and so as long as I was thinking this is impossible, it was impossible. So I think all these events like Rhode Island Veg Fest give you, just break through that a little bit. Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible to be a little more vegan or a little more vegetarian.
Yeah. And that's how you can start the ball rolling. This event is not designed to, no one's going to judge you. You walk in the door, we're not trying to convert you or grill you or ask you about your diet. It's just really like, hey, look what's possible,
Yeah. Look what's possible. I think that's a great subtitle for it, because you talk to so many of these vendors. What is an area that you are waiting? Like you were like, oh, who I want, what kind of a vendor I want at the next Veg Fest? What's the opening that you're just dying to fill?
There's a lot of national brands that we communicate with, because we, fill those swag bags with donated product from national, local, regional brands. And so we communicate with a lot of national brands. So I would love to see some of them be able to come out and join us, sometimes from the Dr. Bronner's of the world, who I think is so fascinating, such interesting. It's owned by a vegan. They serve vegan meals to their staff every day. They pay a living wage. They care about the environment. So I would love to see someone like that. We had a sponsorship last year from Cedars Hummus, and I would love us, to have them with us in person in the future. I think that over time we will see some of this, because there's staffing issues and other pandemic related stressors that remain for small businesses, especially in the hospitality, the restaurant and bar world. But we are contacted by hundreds and hundreds more vendors than we could possibly fit in that room. We probably have to wait list 600 or 700 people in just the food category alone. So, I would say probably, that venue will always be where we host this event in Rhode Island. We're never going to go to the convention center or a larger venue because I don't want to lose that community gathering feel. It feels like a fun neighborhood party. I don't want to lose that feeling of the event and have it become less personal and larger. In a larger location. Waterfire is a community partner, a great nonprofit who cares about the community that they exist in, and I want to stay there with them. But I would like to be able to welcome some of those larger brands, and selfishly, like I love sweets. I wish that I loved them a little bit less. So we have some great like chocolate companies that we communicate with, vegan treats, and I would love to see some more of them join us too.
Now, I work with as a life coach part of my life. I work with people who want to start a vegan business because they want to somehow either with a side gig or begin, but they want to align what they're doing economically and career-wise with something in the vegan. Is there something off the top of your head, a place where you think we still need more vegan businesses, a certain kind of niche of business? Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
I think, we're starting to see a lot happen in the world of like plant-based leathers that are starting to be created out of pineapple. So sort of like reusing waste to create new products is very interesting to me. I try to not buy a lot of, fully new items. I'm a very big proponent of reuse and recycling and reusing goods or buying things used. So I think starting to see like very high quality, like faux leather items that are not just like, the junky vinyl that's also an environmental pollutant, that we've seen over time. Things are changing in that world that I'm very interested in. A lot of like upcycling of old materials into leather quality is very interesting to me. We had some vendors, that in the down alternative. We've had some vendors that sell like an alternative to those Canada Goose type coats. People want to be warm, but don't want to wear something like that. So I think there's a lot of movement in that world now. I think the market is so saturated with, meat alternatives and cheese alternatives. Those things are so readily available now that it might be hard for people who are starting out in that world, unless they have a lot of, financial support, or if they can commit to working on it really full time and just networking constantly. But there are some gaps there still. And I think those leather and, down alternative brands we're going to see so much more of that in the future.
You're reading my mind, because to me, that's the area that footwear especially is hard, because the vinyl is not great for the world, and it's not great for walking in. So I have my old leather boots, which are going to stay as long as I can keep them reused. It's an area that I'm ambivalent about, but it's one of those decisions.
Doc Martens from high school. So I know from my early high school days before I was vegan. So, and they lasted for, forever. So what do you do? I think it's really important to not be wasteful. And I think that has such a tie to veganism itself. Like, but what are the alternatives? And so I think those brands, we're going to see more and more from established brands. Even like Nike had a limited, which is not a brand that I, am super familiar with what they're doing all the time, or like even a fan of really, but everyone's problematic in their own way. But they were producing a limited run of pineapple leather, and I saw them and I thought, like, my God, this is such great quality. So I think there's a downside to everything. How is it being produced? Is it being produced in a sweatshop? Like, is it pineapple leather, but it's in a sweatshop? And those are things I think that a lot of vegans, not just myself, I'm sure you think about these things too, but sustainable products that are long lasting and not made of plastic, I think is where my mind is.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a few things that are cork. I have a couple of things that are, and I don't like cork. I've heard cork is problematic how it's harvested.
I know.
So, and I have a few things that are
Everything.
cactus leather,
Oh, that's cool.
which are nice. And yeah, they're not shoes, but they're like small accessory goods. So I'm trying to support all those. Sometimes you support things which you don't 100% love because you're trying to vote with your dollars for the niche, for the market, to help companies solve some of these problems. Sometimes we can't solve the problem immediately the best way, and so the vegan society's idea that we do this as well as practical as much as we can.
Yeah.
I think is important because there's no purity test for most of these things ultimately.
Right. And there shouldn't be, when you get to the point of the purity test of you know, how good am I doing this compared to other people? Like you have to start at a place that you're comfortable at. And I think that when the purity test, as you say, is there, I think that's what could drive people away from a vegan lifestyle if they think like, well, I can never be perfect at this. I can't give up my 25-year-old shoes that I wear. I don't want to give up this leather handbag that my grandmother gave me that I have stuffed in the closet and I'm not carrying it around, but it's in my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that when that purity test is there and it becomes, I don't know, like not competitive, but people become sometimes territorial or they become upset if people are not living up to their standards. And I try to, and I've had those thoughts myself as a younger person, like, how come everyone's not doing this? Like, everyone should do the things that I'm doing. But you grow and you learn that it's good to meet people where they're at. And if they're coming to this event and they may never become vegan, but now sometimes when they go to Target to buy their groceries, maybe they're swapping out that cheese with a brand that they tried at our event, or they're supporting a hummus brand that is supporting us, and by supporting our event, you're allowing me to bring in 90 small businesses that over the course of 2 days, those small businesses, we survey our vendors after, and the income that's generated in that room over 2 days is $300,000 to $400,000, which was shocking to learn. When we learned that, I thought, who knew? Like,
what have you done? What have you created?
I just didn't know. We knew people did well, and vendors are very open. We don't ask specifics. We have a general survey, tell us a range of, that you made this weekend. We're not going to share it with anybody, specifics. But when people started sharing that to us, I was like shocked that, and it sounds so silly, like I just didn't know. So that figure, that financial number after 2 days in a room together, that's what the community is coming out and supporting people to that level is just so unbelievable to me. And they come back and do it year after year. And then hopefully they continue to support those brands long after they're out of the room with us for the weekend.
No, that is great what you've done. And I think it's just really exciting that in Rhode Island, it's still fairly new. This is the third one, right?
This is the third indoor Veg Fest. Yes, we took a little pause due to the pandemic, obviously, but we're back at it.
That's amazing. It's really amazing. And I love that you're committed to the Waterfire Arts Center. That's you want things to get big, but then when they get too big, then it creates a whole nother level of concerns for what you're trying to achieve. And I think if people go on RhodiSlandVegFest.com, they're going to see some of these photos and videos where you're going to see that buzz that exists in the room. So many people. Yeah. So, and what else do you want to tell me before I let you go back to your life? And this is coming up in just a few days, really. This is going to come out on Tuesday, about 10 days before Rhode Island Veg Fest goes off. So there are still some tickets, right?
There are still some tickets for Sunday. And, as we get closer to the event, we will reassess and communicate with Waterfire and see if we are able to open up some late entry tickets for entry around 2:30 or 3 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. Usually by then the room has thinned out a little and we're under capacity. So I would be able to let some additional folks in. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And it's just, it's right around the corner. I can't believe it crept up this fast. But for anyone who misses it or who's not able to attend, keep your eyes peeled, because we'll have information and tickets available soon for Vegtoberfest, which is in September, but really is right around the corner.
Time is flying. Yeah. So it's RI Veg, VEG Fest, RIVegFest.com.
Yep.
And Robin, Dionne, it's so nice to have you here. We're going to have all the links to it in the show notes, and we're going to share it on Instagram to make sure anybody who's trying to get in there can check in with RI Veg Fest. They can check in and see if there are still tickets available. That is how you would get them, right? Through the website?
Yeah, you would get them. You get them online via our website. And there's always a chance that if we can have them at the door the days of the events, we will have them at the door. If we can do it, we'll do it. And that information we'll share widely on Instagram, on Facebook, and will always be on our website.
Oh, that's right. You have a big Instagram presence too. So look for that on Instagram, RI Veg Fest. That's great. Robin, Dionne, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It was so nice to speak to you today.
So what did you think of Robin, Dionne? You know, when I meet people like Robin, I think, wait, what? You can just do that? You can just start something like a Veg Fest? You can just see a need and somehow make it happen? Now, I know we heard from her, it isn't that easy, but it is possible. And now they've created this annual event, and there's also the Vegtoberfest. It's all because of her vision and her energy and outreach. And of course, I know she had other people involved. I know she has a partner. I know she has a core group that have worked with her. But I think it was really her vision. And I'm so inspired by that. And I hope you are too. I hope you're inspired to look at your skill set and your community and think, what could be a little different? What could be added or changed or improved or cleaned up if I just showed some small amount of leadership? Even if I just offered a little extra support for the people who are trying to make great things happen. Okay, kids. Okay, I hope you enjoyed hearing about Robin and Rhode Island Veg Fest. And you can see the photos, the sponsors, the vendors on rivegfest.com. And you can get on their mailing list so you never miss another one of their events. And I hope I'm going to invite you. If you haven't been to Little Rhodey, a.k.a. the Ocean State, I hope that you will put it on your list. And hope, the word hope, is actually the motto of our state and is written on the Rhode Island state flag. All right, I'll talk to you next week, kids. And in the meantime, I challenge you to veg your best. And if you want to share your ideas or if you want to ask for support, this is an absolutely amazing community here. So reach out, email, message me on Instagram, so easy, or leave a voice message through the podcast. And as always, the links are in the show notes. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.